how technology is changing client access and delivery. My name is Muhammad Yasser Abubakar Sadiq. I'm an associate at Kenna, a top-tier leading commercial law firm in Nigeria, and I will be your moderator for today's panel session. Um, so we're currently living in a time where technology is not just supporting the practice of law, but is also actively reshaping it, from how clients find lawyers to many other things, how legal services are delivered, how disputes are resolved, and even how young lawyers are trained. Technology is now at the core of the legal profession's evolution, particularly in Nigeria, where we are. In Nigeria, this transformation or this evolution presents both exciting opportunities, but it also poses serious questions. Can technology truly improve access to justice in Nigeria? Will artificial intelligence assist lawyers or ultimately replace some of them in the nearest future? Are our courts, law firms, and even regulatory agencies truly ready for a fully digital legal ecosystem in Nigeria? Now, these are not just abstract questions, they are not just theoretical. These questions affect how we work, how we earn as lawyers, and how we serve our clients optimally. And of course, ultimately, how justice is delivered in the society. To help us explore these issues and answer some of these questions from both the innovative aspect and the corporate practice perspectives, we're joined by two outstanding panelists. First and foremost, we have Ms. Rita. Ms. Rita Chinda is the founder of the IP series, a leading voice in legal innovation and technology-driven access to justice in Nigeria. And of course, we have Mr. Nyene Dominic, who is a legal associate at Mono Technologies, who is going to be bringing a powerful in-house fintech and regulatory compliance perspective to the conversation. Now, we will explore today's discussion under three key themes so that we're able to flow with the conversation. Now, I've divided the topic into three aspects, the theme of the conversation into three aspects. The first aspect we're going to be looking at is how technology is reshaping client access to legal services. Two is how it is transforming legal service delivery, and of course, what the future holds for Nigerian lawyers finally. Before I proceed, just like to confirm if our panelists are here with us. Mr. Rita Anwuri Chinda, if you are here with us, kindly signify and say hello. Let us know that you're with us. Miss Rita, are you here with us? Okay, I'm not sure Miss Rita is here with us on the call. Mr. Inyane Dominic, are you here with us?
Yes, please. I am.
Oh,
Good morning, Mohammed.
oh, good morning, Mr. Dominic. So can I call you Dominic, Akban, or Inyene? Which do you prefer?
Mr. Akpan is fine if Inyene
Okay,
will
okay.
cause a little
All
bit
right,
of
Mr. Akban. Thank
problem.
you very much for
Hello.
joining
Sorry.
us this morning.
Excuse me, Mohammed. Akman,
Yeah.
can you reach out to Rita? Do you have access to her to join us?
Unfortunately, I do not have access to Rita, but I spoke with someone who should, and he promised to reach out to her.
Because it's possible she didn't block her calendar and she doesn't remember or something. Okay, let's go on, please.
Okay, let me I don't know if I may. Let me just try reaching out to her. Let me just try reaching out to her. Okay, so I've reached out to Miss Rita, and she'll be joining us in a couple of minutes. She's trying to use the link to join us. So let's just give her a couple of minutes while we do that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting much time, we'll proceed straight into the conversation. So this is designed to be an interactive session, just like I've said earlier, and it's also going to be a practical conversation, very practical as we can be. I encourage our audience to stay engaged, and we'll also reserve time at the end of the session for questions from the audience as well. So just like I said, we will explore the conversation in three very important themes. So we're going to divide the topic into three. First segment, we're going to be looking at how technology is reshaping client access to legal services. Secondly, we're going to be looking at how technology is transforming legal service delivery. And finally, we're going to look at what the future holds for Nigerian lawyers as far as technology and emerging tech is concerned. So without further ado, we'll delve straight right into it. So for the first segment, let us begin from the client's perspective, enhancing client access to legal services. Now, traditionally, accessing lawyers or accessing a lawyer in Nigeria meant personal referrals, physical law offices, long waiting periods, and sometimes even significant cost implications. But today, that the reality is changing thanks to technology, clients can now discover lawyers through social media, consult with them virtually, use automated documents, and even interact with legal chatbots or legal AI bots. this first theme is going to focus on how technology is reshaping the way Nigerians find, engage, and experience legal services. We will examine issues relating to affordability, convenience, and expectations, and whether technology is indeed truly expanding access to justice or merely just maybe shifting how we do it. Now, let's start with Mr. Akman, since Mr. Akman is on the call before Rita joins us. So, Mr. Akman, 5 years ago, most lawyers, some 10 years ago, most lawyers found other lawyers through referrals and physical offices. But today we have online legal platforms, we have social media and virtual consultations. So, in very practical terms, how do you think technology has changed the first point of contact between clients and lawyers in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. It's good to be here. So thank you very much for extending the invitation to speak here. Kudos to the YLF for what they are currently doing. Well, you said something which was very catchy. You said 5 to 10 years ago, it was basically more of referrals and recommendation and all of that. Now, I think everything started when COVID came in that 2019, and COVID made us realize that a whole lot is possible. That's keeping the negative aspect of COVID aside. COVID made us realize that a whole lot is possible, not just in the legal profession, but life in general, right? As at then, I wasn't called to the bar, right? But I don't think the idea of even, let's say, working remotely would have maybe resonated well with law employers and all of that. But then COVID came and changed everything, including the legal practice and how clients can easily access lawyers. You've mentioned social media, which is a very important tool now that people use to access lawyers. Of course, there is the apt response now. So in practical terms, I would say that a whole lot has changed, right? Since we've really begin to adopt the use of technology, right? A whole lot has changed, not just for the clients, but for lawyers as well. Now it's very easy for clients to find you. It's easy for you to render legal service to them, even from the very comfort of your home, right? So you have so many tools now, like apt response. You have many tools now that is becoming rampant, let me put it that way. Yeah, it's becoming, people are getting to know of it. And with that, just like you order a ride on Uber, you easily go in and you are connected to a nearby lawyer close to you. So technology has developed a great deal in the legal profession, and it's a very much welcome development, very much welcome development.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Akman. You mentioned something very important. COVID made us realize, notwithstanding its negative aspects, the COVID-19 pandemic made us realize that anything and everything is possible. Before I proceed, I'd just like to confirm if Miss Rita has joined us. Miss Rita, are you here with us now? Okay, I'm not sure
Yes,
Miss
I
Rita has
am.
joined. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning and welcome to the session.
Good morning, everyone. Apologies for just joining.
All right. We would like to get your perspective also on just some introductory remarks from your experience running the IP series. How do you think technology has changed how clients now discover and trust legal brands online?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Apologies once again, I have a bit of an info challenge, but what I would say with regards to your question is, if you look at the way the practice has been, you find out that we are currently transitioning from the generalist perspective where everyone is expected to do not all but some major areas of law, and now we're having more specialized practitioners in this space. If you look at prior to, so I'm going to use myself because it's a bit personal for me. The topic is a bit personal for me. Prior to 2020, I had already started working with a virtual law firm, which is the first virtual law firm in Nigeria called Diffusion Lawyers. And when we started, it wasn't something that was, embraced by the community. But when COVID happened, all of that changed. Now, another aspect again that changed was how clients were able to access you. I heard the previous speaker mention or talk about referrals. Now, because of how the world is now a global village thanks to the internet, anybody can find you on any platform. I had a client who was monitoring me or shadowing me for a period of months because we were on a similar platform, and he saw all of the things I was posting. And after gauging me and finding out that I could do what he wanted me to do, he reached out. Sometimes you find out that now where conversation about disability and putting out content or building your practice in terms of wanting to be a thought leader, you find out that people are now able to reach out to you via your DMs. So are you going to make your social media account a private place or a public place? And also you need to consider the RPC aspect when it comes to all of this conversation, because there's still that um, discussion as to what is permissible and what is not, especially now that you have more lawyers being called to bar. You have lawyers wanting to do something different from what every other person is doing. Do you still go back to the whole tradition of jumping straight into litigation, or just carving a niche for yourself from the get-go? Again, from my experience, I would say do what works for you. Everybody's pathway is not the same. Not everyone is opportune to go to law school immediately they graduate, and not everyone is privileged to find out their niche area or area of interest immediately after LLB, right? So whenever you figure that part out, I think you should do what you think is best for you. But I would say, um, based on our present reality, lawyers should be more open to embracing the use of technology. And if you follow conversations that have been going on within not just the practice, but in every other area, you find out that AI is like the most prominent topic, right? If you're a fan of Richard Susskind, you know that that fear had always been there over the last 10 years, that is either you evolve and get with the tide or the trend, or you get left behind. And that also applies to not just law, but to every other sector. So if you feel that your jurisdiction might be a sort of limitation, the internet is there for you to break free out of that, because your digital footprint will always serve as your CV when it comes to getting clients, retaining clients, and also expertise when it comes to your colleagues and your contribution to the legal practice. I hope that answers your question. Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rita, for that very wonderful answer. You spoke about a choice that lawyers have in the 21st century, particularly. You have the choice of either making your social media a public or private place, depending on whether you want clients to access you or not. But you also have to keep that balance between clients having to reach you and of course your professional responsibilities as a lawyer as well. So before we move on to the next line of questioning, let me just briefly introduce in practical terms. We've heard the first speaker made mention of apt response, and I'm sure from our flyers, you've also been seeing apt response as well, and you may be wondering what apt response is all about. So just a practical question. Have you ever found yourself in a very tight spot and you know that you really, really need help? Apt Response provides you with quick and easy access to NBA verified legal practitioners that are ready to help you through that emergency. Apt Response works with a network of Nigerian Bar Association verified legal practitioners who are available to assist you with your legal needs. You can download the app at aptresponse.io. The app is available for you to download, and you will get access to lawyers who are willing and ready to assist you with your legal needs. Now, moving forward with the first theme, let's shift our focus to affordability now, affordability and reach. Legal services are still widely seen as expensive and out of reach for especially the average Nigerian. So my question now is to Ms. Rita. In what concrete ways do you think technology is helping to bridge the gap in respect of access to justice, especially for people in rural and undeserved communities?
That's a very interesting question, right? So, I mean, first you have to look at the infrastructure when it comes to the Nigerian space. Do we have the right infrastructure that those within the rural space can actually explore in terms of what are those tools that you can use without the network service? Do we have um, agencies or legal practitioners within that region that can make access to justice affordable for them? Because I have a different view when it comes to affordability of legal service, right? And when you streamline it to people within the rural area, there's a lot of work out there for you. You have to create awareness. You also have to educate the people. It also depends on the subject matter of the legal expertise that they are looking out for. So if it's something that is very sensitive, you now have to do a lot of negotiation or acting as a middleman between the community and the person that has been, or let me say, the victim in question or the potential client, and also letting them understand the benefit. Because if you have like a general conversation with most Nigerians, the perception is law is up for grabs for the highest bidder. So that mindset has to change first, right? Then you also hear things like all lawyers are liars. How do you convince someone who sees you as a liar or sees you as someone that can be bought? So mindset before the infrastructure, because even if you bring the infrastructure to them, there's still going to be a pushback. There's still going to be fear within that region. So you have to build that patience in terms of engaging and educating. So at that point, you're not even thinking of making profit, right? You're thinking of doing your best and putting your best foot there and, trying to create a good impression for the legal practice before you then delve into that. If, say, for instance, you have an interest in human rights, you might want to collaborate with human rights organizations to assist in awareness, to assist with legal fees, right? But if it's in setting up businesses, I mean, you find out that those within those areas are already into business. And trying to advise such a person to register the company or in view of the new tax law to go and set up their TIN number and be tax compliant, you're going to do a lot of talking. I have to do it in the various minimum layman terms that the person will understand and not see it as the government trying to make money off them. So there is a lot to be done, but I feel that if that is the route that a lawyer chooses to explore, I would say that the person in question should consider other areas of practice that can be able to sustain their legal practice. You also need to look at the visibility aspect, right? Remember, I've spoken about digital footprint. So you have to do a lot of documentation. So other than collaborating, you have to document your journey. What has been the challenge with engaging with the community? What has been the challenge in engaging the necessary organizations from the judiciary to the policemen to every other person that should make your job seem easy, right? Because with documentation, you now have data to back whatever grant or funding you may be looking out for, right? Another thing I want to say is, I mean, you need to remember as well why you're delving into engaging this um, people within that region that you are not in competition with anybody, right? You also have to have a what's it called now? A career goal in terms of timelines as to execution, right? So the first 6 months will be for engaging or studying these people within this region. Who do I work with? Where will I get the funds and how often will I do this? Will this be something that's going to be a lifelong project or something that I will do on the side? Right. And then if your local branch, that is the NBA branch, decides to collaborate with you, better for you. You might also have to consider remuneration model. Are you going to accept payment in are you going to do like a per brief model or retainer, or would you accept whatever gifts that the community decides to give you? Would you be working with volunteers? If yes, how do you intend to encourage them to keep at what they are doing? I think that basically answers. I do hope I was able to answer your question, but yeah, that's my contribution to that question.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rita. Yes,
Hello,
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, we can hear you, Rita. Thanks very much for
can
the
anybody hear
very.
me?
Yes, we can hear you, Rita. Rita, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I wasn't hearing
Okay.
anyone. I'm done answering your question.
Yeah, thank you very much for the very precise and practical answer as well. So before I proceed to ask you, Mr. Akban, your own question, I would like to just also get your own perspective about affordability and reach. What are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. So, Rita said a whole lot of things, which basically covers most of the things I would have probably touched on. And I think one of the key things that she said that stood out for me is the mindset, not thinking of making profit. So I work in a fintech space, right? So I'll try and bring this back home. Now, you see how difficult, even up until this very moment, it is for some people to still accept and use fintech products or fintech patronize fintech companies like the likes of OPay and all of that. even in the urban areas, right? The city, how much more in the rural areas when you're even talking about the legal profession, right? So just like Rita had said, the mindset, there have to be this shift in mindset. You don't have to think about making profits at the initial point, right? Because you cannot you cannot expect the same level of should I say let me say financial commitment in the rural area when it as opposed to that of the city, right? It's two different world entirely. So there have to be that shift in mindset. She also mentioned infrastructure, which is very, very important, right? Now, in cities, you see that if, courts are open to virtual hearings, proceedings are conducted virtually and all of that. So you can be anywhere and then you can easily attend a court sitting, right? However, even when it comes to certain locations, right, certain localities in some places, you discover that these infrastructures have not even been implemented. They've not even been put in place, thereby still hindering access to legal services. Recently, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he he said he wanted filing a divorce petition, right? And his concern was where his client was based and where the divorce petition was instituted, right? Sorry, it had already been instituted, right? So he was thinking of going about it. So I'm like, okay. So I mean, it's something your client can always join in virtually. And he said the courts don't have a working virtual hearing infrastructure, right? I don't want to mention the states. I don't want to mention the region, right? So that also poses as a challenge because you discover that these are things that are actually quite easy in certain places. However, in other places, it's more like a Herculean task, right? So a whole lot needs to be done, like Rita had said. A whole lot of work needs to be done. The MBA at all branch level, they need to come in. The awareness, the sensitization, everything needs to be put in place, right? Another thing would also want to mention would be when eventually, let's say you eventually want to charge these people in rural areas. To some extent, the RPC has made provisions for what you should charge and what you should not charge, depending on some level of services, depending on some kind of services that you want to render. It poses as a sort of problem when even in cities you still have people telling you, oh no, the law, the bar, I cannot do this is too costly and all of that. Oh, I know a lawyer that can do it for this amount and all of that. How much more in rural areas? So you have to be able to see how you can marry these challenges, right? Even in your drive and your passion towards making justice accessible to these people in the rural areas. So in a nutshell, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. And for that, it will take not just the lawyers themselves, it will take the entire leadership of the NBA and every stakeholder, every relevant stakeholder in the profession to achieve that.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Akban. Still on that, we now have automated legal documents. We can have automated deeds of assignment. We can have automated sale agreements. We can have automated non-disclosure agreements, wills and codicils and what have you. From your perspectives, do you think these tools are a threat to traditional legal practice, or are they simply handling basic needs for the client while the lawyers focus on higher value work? In simpler terms, do you see this as a market expansion rather than a competition, or the other way around?
Thank you. So I wouldn't see it as a competition, right? Um, so when Rita was answering her first question, she made mention of something that excuse me, that lawyers should be open to embracing technology, right? Now, the truth of the matter is, no matter how you want to look at it, right, you still need the input of a lawyer, even when you have all these automated documents, right? A lawyer will still have to make a final review of this because now these automated, in most instances, these automated documents might not doesn't necessarily fit the use case or each peculiar scenario, right? So you have an automated document that gives you what, let's say, a deed of assignment is all about, right? A lawyer will still have to do the final review to ensure how it suits his or her client's peculiar scenario. For example, you let's say for example now maybe payment has not been completed, right? And they're still making payment, or they've made an arrangement that payment is going to be in, let's say, maybe installment and all of that. But yes, they want to execute a deed. You get that's something automated will not capture, right? But it can be captured if a lawyer has a final review of it. So I don't necessarily see it as a competition. I don't see it that way. I see it as an enabler, right? With the automated documents, it saves you the stress, right? It saves you the stress of doing some things, you understand? So you know where exactly to get what you want, you know what to do, and you have it done in no distant time. That way you're also improving your turnaround time when it comes to different work you have, right? If I'm bringing this back a little bit to my own space. So, for example, you have tools that now help you, let's say, verify people, help you verify businesses. So imagine not having to sit down and go through documents one after the other just because you want to ensure that a business you're trying to bring on board or someone who is trying to come on board has passed all possible KYCs. You have AI tools that do that for you. You get so for me, like I said, it's an enabler. It saves time, it improves efficiency, and it improves productivity as well. So it's not a competition, but an enabler for me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Akban. Before we proceed to the next theme of the conversation, I'd just like to get Rita's 2 cents. Rita, I don't know if there's anything you would want to add in respect of the conversation about competition between technology and lawyers. Is it really a competition?
It's not. I don't think it's a competition. Like I stated in my opening, that we as lawyers need to embrace technology, right? But you find that the problem is not with the lawyers; it's the mindset of the people you intend to service, right? I think a few weeks ago there was a conversation on X. I think it was when the remuneration order, the act came out, and someone was like, yeah, we can, put lawyers out of business. I'm going to come up with a company that's going to draft an agreement, but the lawyer will vet it, will just pay him a stipend. So you find out that in a bid to push lawyers out of business, you still need them to confirm whether what you're doing is right or wrong, right? And I feel again that the legal profession or legal services in Nigeria is not well appreciated, right? And that is because over time and prior to most of us being called to the bar, not our seniors, some of our seniors belittled the services that they rendered. So it became like, oh, something cheap, right? Which is why when it comes for land documentation, you find out people are always like, oh, I can get a lawyer that can do a cheaper job, right? Now, do you partake in that conversation and start trying to prove to them, oh, don't worry, we're against an issue? No, don't do that. Just move on with whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep building with the tech tools that you have available to, with you, right? Find out what areas that you can use to gain an edge over another person, right? They say practice makes perfect. Someone had dropped an advice on X saying that if you want to perfect your drafting skills as it applies to specialized areas, you should read briefs or case files on that particular niche. Over the last 24 hours, we've had the Netflix Warner merger and conversation. And after this morning, I saw the agreement and it's 371 pages. Now, let's say you use a tech tool to draft that. You still need a lawyer to go through that 371 pages to ensure that you're protecting the interests of your client. So at the end of the day, it's lawyers that use tech that will not be defined by their wig and gamble by the internet, right? Because you are basically putting yourself and trying to ensure that you are who you say you are, right? I'm sure we've all seen the stories of when someone's like, oh, you met someone of how many years experience and it took him 10 minutes to do that. That's what working together or using tech tools can do for you. It gives you a leverage that a layman would never have. But again, we are learned persons. So your legal knowledge and you building your capacity will always set you apart from every other person. So that's my 2 cents to that topic.
All right. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Collaborate with technology, and because technology ultimately requires your guidance as well, and this will ultimately help you to make work easier for your client and deliver excellent service as well. Now, I don't want us to think that today's discussion is abstract, because if you look at what makes apt response particularly relevant to today's discussion, is that it perfectly sits at the intersection of what we've just discussed about client access, affordability, speed, and technology-enabled service delivery. So as we proceed with the rest of our conversation, I'd just like us to keep platforms like apt response in mind as real-life examples of how the future of legal practice is already happening, and it's not just something that we're still waiting for. Just like you go on Bolt and Uber and InDrive and you book your ride as well, we now have a platform that makes the client access and lawyer access easy. So thank you very much to our panelists for your insightful insights thus far. Now, shifting away from now that we've examined the client side and access, let's shift to the other half of the conversation: the lawyers, the law firms, and the court system. Speaking of service delivery now, so behind every legal service is an internal system, a law firm or a court system, for example, dealing with issues relating to case management, billing the client, documentation, preparation of court processes, research, and a host of other things. Now, technology is rapidly changing all of these things that law firms and courts do, from virtual hearings, e-filing, AI, cloud computing, and the rest of it. Now, under this, we want to explore how Nigerian law firms and lawyers in-house are adapting to some of these changes operationally. Now, I would just like to get your 2 cents, Dominic, on this. Some Nigerian courts now use e-filing. We have virtual hearings as well, but the progress remains uneven, nationwide. What do you see as the biggest challenge or as the biggest barrier we have that is preventing us from fully digitizing our system and our legal ecosystem generally?
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. Uh, the problem, I think, not thinking, I will still fall back on infrastructure, right? Now, I wouldn't, as per the court system, right? Acceptability is no longer an issue now, right? Because courts have come to realize that technology has really, really aided justice delivery in the country, right? But now the issue is providing the infrastructure to be able to fully implement this. So, like I had said earlier, you have situations where some courts or courts in some places, some localities, they are using virtual hearing. I've actually had to conduct a case before virtually. Our client was cross-examined virtually, right? But then there are also courts in other jurisdictions, in other locations that do not have the infrastructure in place, right? And it boils down to that because without the infrastructure, you cannot implement that. So it poses a very serious problem. So whilst your contemporaries, your colleagues in some places like Lagos, Abuja, and the rest are telling you, oh, I just finished having a court sitting, my client joined virtually and all of that. In some places, lawyers practicing there cannot relate, right? They can't relate because this is not what they are used to because the infrastructure are not there. They're not put in place. And that's where the judiciary as a whole comes into play, right? That's where the leadership of the NBA comes into play to push this drive. You understand? To push and ensure that they are implemented. Now, when before you even have the opportunity to conduct your matter virtually, there are also some certain bottlenecks. You have to make an application. There have to be the approval because you could have like one IT team servicing various courts, and it becomes a problem. So it's on a schedule. If your matter is supposed to come up when the IT team is supposed to be in another court to provide virtual assistance and to provide service for virtual court hearing, your matter will definitely be adjourned. So these are things that the judiciary should look into. So other than providing the infrastructure, it should be well adequate, right? So a court should have its own IT team that you don't need to pass through so many bottlenecks before you can have a virtual hearing, right? Once you make an application and it's granted, you know that there is an IT team in place there and there in the court assigned to that particular court to ensure that that runs smoothly. You get? So if that happens, right? If that happens, it's not just going to save the time of the client, but that's of the lawyers and the judges themselves, right? Uh, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? I think I'm
Yes, we can hear you,
lost.
Mr. Akban, loud and clear.
Oh, great. Oh, great. So yes. So just to conclude, the infrastructure have to be put in place, right? It will costs, right? But it has to be put in place. Put the infrastructure in place, and then we could now worry about other subsidiary things like the internet connection and all of that. But once the infrastructure is in place, the willingness and the urge to adopt the fastest and best approach to justice system is going to really play out very well.
All right. Thanks very much, Mr. Akban, for those very insightful answers. Before I proceed to ask Ms. Rita her own specific question, I'd just like to get her own 2 cents about the discussion. What do you think is the problem, particularly with the court system? What's preventing us from fully digitizing?
I'll just like to say that I'm in line with everything that the previous speaker has stated. However, I would just like to draw attention to the fact, I mean, because you mentioned adoption of AI and stuff like that. I'm aware that the NBA SLP has a guide on use of AI for, I think it's lawyers and law firms, so we can look into that. And also, if you remember, during 2020, the then CJN had put out a directive for courts to explore virtual hearing because of the lockdown. I believe that that conversation should be revisited again, that there needs to be like a training for the registrars and everyone that assists the courts in ensuring that the court sits and proceedings continue, right? Because there are a lot of middlemen that are against the system, the legal system progressing as it should. And then there is the lawyer's part, right? But everyone, all hands needs to be on deck to ensure that. If you look at niche area like arbitration and mediation, some ADR institutions already have guidelines for virtual hearing, of which anyone that will be going to use that institution would have to comply. So there needs to be like a compliance mindset shift, right? The earlier speaker has talked about infrastructure. We need proper infrastructure. We also need to do a lot of collaborations with the telecom companies in terms of giving us a better network service. Not everyone can afford a Starlink, but the likes of Airtel and MTN that have 5Gs can help with that in terms of ensuring that the courts have the right bandwidth to handle the number of cases that will be heard um, that period. Also, the lawyers that will also be participating and their clients should also ensure that they do the barest minimum by getting like the right network service. But again, you can't really trust the network, right? Because I've been embarrassed today. I mean, it took me a couple of minutes to log in. I've had an experience during an arbitral proceeding where I was asked to share a document and I got locked up. So I mean, it's something that can be worked on or is being worked on, but I mean, we need the government support to make it a bit quicker. So that's my 1 cent or 2 cents with regards to your question.
All right. Thank you very much. I think it qualifies as 2 cents at this point, or even a million cents. Thank you very much. So yeah, you made mention of AI. Thank you very much for leading us there. But let's shift our focus from the court system now to the law firm perspective. Many lawyers still think AI only means ChatGPT. How do you think a Nigerian law firm should strategically begin to integrate AI into its day-to-day activities in ensuring optimal client service delivery?
Oh well, I'm going to say you have to tread with caution, right? I mean, if you look at the AI conversation in terms of adoption, there are conversations as to accuracy, bias, memorization, and stuff like that, right? So if you're actually going to adopt, there needs to be like an AI policy within the firm as to where the use of AI for clients' work would start and stop. Because remember, when you are giving whatever AI platform, say not just chat, so you have the Copilot, you have Gemini, you have Perplexity. For those that do a lot of career research, there I think it's called Anora also, right? So there's the data protection aspect of it. There's also the um, confidentiality aspect of it, right? I do recall, I think that was 2 years ago, where it was said that a Samsung employee had uploaded some code on the ChatGPT now to correct or fix or something. And that information that should not have been public knowledge was disclosed. So who would bear the liability if an information about, say, let's use the Netflix Warner merger that just got concluded few I don't know when it concluded, but the news went viral yesterday and up until this morning. So you put that up into the AI and then it helps you filter and summarizes and highlights a couple of things. But what then happened to the retention of that data? What if it decides to reproduce it for another person asking a conversation as to AI or Netflix or Warner Bros. And stuff like that? How do you handle that information? So, law firm within Nigeria that is considering adopting AI fully to be part of this. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that is part of its working system is first have first is to train your employees as to the benefits and the downsides of using AI. So that your employees they don't rely so much on it and then become brain dead, right? So that training needs to be had. You also need to be very particular as to the AI that you decide to adopt for the law firm. You now have to, as a lawyer, read the terms of use for that platform or AI tool that you want to incorporate into the law firm, right? Before you start considering drafting of AI policy, merge with IP compliance, merge with cybersecurity compliance. So there's a lot of buildings or foundations that needs to be laid before anything. And again, I would advise that we all read the SLP, NBA SLP AI guide that was drafted last year. That will also guide our use of AI as it applies to clients' work and stuff like that. Ensure that the opt-out system or opt-out requirement is solid. You as a law firm should ensure that you have like the right privacy and cybersecurity tools in place that would protect you from any kind of breach or unauthorized hacking or phishing or stuff like that. But again, while we encourage that you adopt technology, you also need to adopt it with caution, not fear, right? So that's my response to your question.
All right. Thanks very much, Rita, for the very, very insightful answer. Particularly what caught my mind was about the AI, the need for law firms or any other institution that is seeking to adopt AI use to create an AI policy, to guide how AI is used. I understand that very recently Deloitte was caught using AI after it was flagged by after AI hallucination was flagged by a researcher, and it is now forced to pay the government a partial refund of over $290,000, which shows how AI use without guidance, without human guidance, sometimes can lead to very serious implications, particularly for the institution. So thank you very much for that. And of course, the MBSLP guidelines on the use of AI has been very helpful in this regard. You also made mention of something about data and cybersecurity, but we're still coming to that. But before we move to that conversation, Mr. Akban, I'd just like to get your thoughts from the in-house legal team's perspectives. Are there any AI tools that you find very valuable in your work, and how do you use them for optimal service delivery?
Okay, thank you, Mohammed. So the truth of the matter is, AI and in general, technology has actually come to stay, whether as a law firm or as a company, whether you like it or not. So now the question now is how best and how effective can you utilize it, right? I think recently, I think a tier one law firm even publicly adopted the use of AI. Yeah, I think Harvey AI. Yeah. So that's to show you that even law firms are beginning to adopt this. So either you fall in line or you sit back and watch as you're being left behind. For the workings of my own space. So basically, right, we use tools, we use various tools. Gemini, Rita had mentioned, we use Gemini very well. So even things as minutes, you have Gemini that takes notes of meetings for you when you're having a call with a partner. There's also the Notion, right, that helps you streamline and saves your documents. There's also the Slack for internal communication as well. Slack that also even comes with its own chatbot, then prompts you on certain things that you need to do if you set it to. So for us, or let me say for me in the fintech space, because of how fast paced the industry is, right? It has been very helpful, right? It has been very helpful because there are times that you need to give certain responses ASAP. You understand? But that doesn't mean that we rely solely on it. No, we don't rely. Of course, the human factor will always come into play to cross-check, to give make the final reviews and then approve it for a go out. That comes into play very well. But it has really helped streamline our service. It has really helped increase productivity, enhance efficiency, and turnaround times as well. Then for the compliance aspect, you have businesses trying to come on board to use your product, right? A whole lot of them submitting KYC documents. And imagine having to sit down, right? Imagine having to sit down to sort these documents one-on-one. It takes not just your time, but it delays the speed at which the work would have been delivered. So from the compliance perspective, you have AI tools like Primbly, Shofty that are being used to easily verify some KYC documents as well as also easily detect fraud. So it's been a game changer, especially in my space, right? It's been a game changer. The AI, it's been great. Just that you just have to know how you manage how you utilize it. Let me use that word, how you utilize it. Rita had also made mention of privacy. The concern is always about privacy, right? It's always about privacy. How is my data going to be safeguarded, even when in transit or when at rest? How is my data going to be stored? Do you have this policy? Do you have a data retention policy? Do you have a privacy policy? Are all these displayed on your website? Do you have an IMS? It's a whole lot. Everything still boils down to data because a whole lot of information is being exchanged, and feeding the AI with all this information brings a whole lot of privacy issues, right? And I know that I think the NBA, yes, sometime released a privacy guidance for lawyers. I think so. Yeah. So you see that privacy is really at the core. So long as technology and AI is concerned, privacy is also concerned alongside it. So depending on what exactly you're doing, are you PCI DSS compliant? Are you ISO compliant? These are the questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Akman. We've spoken, we've heard about the issues relating to cybersecurity, data protection, and the importance of sticking to client confidentiality. Now, there are a lot of concerns, particularly as more client data moves to the cloud. Cyber threats are increasing. What do you think are the most urgent? Now, this question is to Rita. Do you think that Nigerian law firms are truly prepared for this level of scrutiny or this level of transformation, particularly in relation to sticking to client confidentiality while also using AI to deliver services to their clients?
So your question is, are law firms going to comply? Is that your question?
Yes.
I mean, why not? I mean, so if you look at our confidentiality is something that is very important, right? I've had instances where a client is like, oh, this information I want to put and like first talking to me as a lawyer, you should be rest assured that this information will not be shared with
Rita, we can't really hear you clearly. I think your microphone is muffled in a way.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, much better.
Okay, so I was saying, why not, right? And then I made reference to the RPC that requires confidentiality as our responsibility to our client, and I was giving an example as to how I've had a client tell me that I had to sign an NDA with him for us to continue, and I also had to remind him again that even discussing me, whatever he's discussed with me was confidential, right? I mean, there are rules or exceptions where you should not keep certain information confidential. However, in view of our present reality of everybody being online and trying to be a thought leader and also create visibility for themselves and stuff like that, there needs to be a line drawn as to how much you can share online. Because remember again, most of the social media platform we are using are also adopting the use of AI. There's been conspiracy theories as to how most of our social media platforms are trying to use our data to train their AI models, right? So if you as a lawyer and also a member of a law firm do not take some of the issues being raised by the laymen or people within the society serious, how then do you then want to prove to your client that you are um, good to go, right? You also need to disclose for transparency's sake to your client if you wish to use AI for any kind of documentation or monitoring or tracking, right? If you look at how when you log on to um, Zoom, you're being informed that the recording has started. There's going to be an AI companion being attached to the meeting. The conversation that has arisen from that is what happens if someone attending the meeting does not want the AI companion to be part of that meeting and also does not want the meeting to be recorded. So it's already assumed that your consent is automatic, right? So there needs to be an option for if someone doesn't want to comply or give their consent, there should be room for the person to opt out. So I think those are things that law firms, lawyers need to consider when dealing with clients, right? I mean, if you look at how you interact with social media platforms, there is the AI, I think the AI button to show that you actually use AI to create your work. How many of us are willing to be that transparent to say the cost of creating this or using this or drafting this, I use AI to help me summarize or to help me review or to help me come up with ideas and stuff like that. So if that option or if that transparency is not there, then it's going to be a problem when it comes to confidentiality. Remember again that lawyers are seen as the custodians of justice, right? We're also seen as learners. So it's assumed that if you are interacting or having conversations or discussions with your client, you also need to look at the business aspect. What are the implications for doing this? How do I, protect my client? You also need to carry out a risk assessment analysis at the end of the day. If this happens, what is the plan B? Right. So I hope that answers your questions. I don't know if I did. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Miss Rita. Um, So without wasting much time, we'll delve straight right into the final segment of the theme. Let's look to the future. We've looked at client access, reach, affordability, and generally access to the clients and to the lawyers. And we've also seen how service delivery is affected by technology. Now, let's look to the future. Technology is not just changing legal tools, it is also changing what it means to be a lawyer, practically, in the practical sense. We want to now look at how lawyers must adapt professionally, what reforms are required from our institutions, and how emerging technologies will shape the next decade in legal practice. Because our goal here is simple. For the entirety of this webinar, the MBA Young Lawyers Forum, and of course, our partners, Apt Response, the goal is simple: to ensure that Nigerian lawyers are not left behind in the global legal technology movement, but we want to ensure that Nigerian lawyers are positioned to lead in that space. Now, this question is to Mr. Akman now. How do you think a lawyer, particularly a young lawyer, can position themselves to learn ethical AI use in the 21st century?
All right. So a whole lot will be dependent on the lawyer himself or herself, right? You have to be very much open to first embracing technology, right? You have to be open to that. There are some people that are conservative. Oh, I don't want to use AI. I cannot use AI for this. I can't use this for that and all of that. If you have that limited mindset, it won't help, right? So you need to be open to accepting the fact that this has come to stay and you need to flow in line with it, right? Now, webinars like webinars, extensive reading and all of that, it matters a whole lot. There are different rules, there are different regulations, there are laws governing usage of AI. Like I had earlier mentioned, there is the privacy guidance for lawyers that the NBA had issued sometime, as well as implementation of IT solutions and all of that. Rita had mentioned that. So you can see even the body is trying to push these innovations, right? It's trying to drive the profession forward. So as an individual, you cannot sit back and be limited, right? In your thoughts that you don't want to adopt this. You have to be very willing and open to adopt technology and AI as it comes. And that involves you positioning yourself, right? For learning, attending webinars, attending events. Now, there are so many events that focuses on all these emerging technologies, be it physical, be it virtually. So there are courses on that on so many learning platforms. You have to be open to it.
All right. Thank you very much. Just as a follow-up to that, Mr. Akman, do you think our current laws, our current legal and ethical frameworks, do you think they adequately address these new realities? If they don't, how do you think we can?
Okay, thank you. So far, I think it has, though there will always be room for improvement, of course, right? So recently I had attended an event that was hosted by a law firm here in Lagos, and the National Commissioner of the NDPC was in attendance, and he said something, because he was one of the speakers. He said something that so far, when it comes to geographical peculiarity. Nigeria has the best regulation when it comes to, like, for instance, privacy now, right? Which is always a major concern when you are using all these tools, right? And technologies that Nigeria has evolved and developed by having all these laws. So you're looking at the NDPA of 2023, you're looking at the General Application and Implementation Directive Framework, Implementation Directive of 2025, which have robustly captured emerging technologies, right? So even the very least thing as you transferring data out of Nigeria, it might sound a bit broad, but so long as you're utilizing all these cloud storage platforms like AWS, Cloudflare, Google Cloud, and the rest, that's basically you transferring data out of Nigeria because you're hosting on their platforms, right? Now, our regulations have actually made provisions for that. So before you even think of transferring that, this country you're transferring this data to, do they have the robust, do they also have a robust regulation in place to that effect? So yeah, I think we are doing quite well in that regard. There'll always be room for improvements, and that will always come in when from usage, right? From the number of law firms that are adopting the usage of these tools, questions will always arise. Like I said, questions are always and will always be centered on privacy concerns, right? So questions will always arise, thereby giving room for improvement. But so far, I believe that so many things have been perfectly captured in what we have. Not just the NDPA, you even have like that privacy notice NBA released for lawyers. They will always tell you, oh, you must have lawful basis for doing this. There must be the lawful principle and all of that. They will always they'll always redirect you back to the act and any other regulation of the commission. So yeah, things are in place, but there will always be room for improvement.
All right. Thank you very much. Now back to you, Rita. I'd like to get your 2 cents about ethical AI use, and secondly, you made mention on the of the NBA SLP guidelines on the use of AI for law practice. I also want to get your 2 cents on that, whether you think that framework is enough, or do we need to do more, especially with respect to sanctions for non-compliance?
I get to answer 2 questions at the same time, so I'll start with the last one. Is the SLP guideline enough? I'll say no, but it's a start, right? There's opportunity for us to. There's a background voice. Can I continue?
Oh yes, please proceed, Mr. Akban. I think your audio is unmuted.
So sorry.
Okay, thank you. So I was
Yeah, thank
saying
you.
the SLP guideline is a start. I believe that there needs to be, we have 3 committees under the NBA, the section of legal practice, section of business law, and SPIDL. So I think we might need to have each of these committees come up with their own guideline as it affects the different areas of practice, because these committees are tailored to different areas of practice. That's one. Secondly, I believe also that we as lawyers need to be intentional when it comes to this conversation. We can't continue to pretend that we are not aware of how pressing the conversation as it applies to AI and legal practices. I mean, if you look at the US, a couple of lawyers have been sanctioned for citation of wrong cases, right? How do you then make a Nigerian lawyer see the repercussion for doing all of this? Where do you then draw the line when you're relying on these AI tools or AI text to aid your legal practice? And would the penalties that the committee had recommended be enough to deter lawyers from doing unethical things? That's another way to look at it. Are there gaps that the document may have missed that we can now reconsider? Then there is also a need for the Nigerian government. I know that there is an AI draft bill, but I have not seen a copy to know if there are specific or tailored uh, guidelines or provisions for different industry as to what would be considered to be ethical or unethical for buyers and stuff like that. So those conversations need to be had. And we also need the Nigerian bar and also from the local branch level to start um, re-educating and changing the mindset of the lawyers. I mean, there's so much conversation or emphasis on lawyers, but we also need to engage the academic institutions, right? We also need to engage the judiciary. Everyone needs, all stakeholders that are relevant in the legal industry have to be engaged so that the message is passed and ignorance will not be an excuse when anyone is caught up with the law. I don't know if I answered the first question by talking. Just what was your first question again, please?
Okay, the first question is about ethical AI use, how lawyers, particularly young lawyers, can position themselves to learn how to use AI ethically.
Okay, so I would say, I mean, in a very short commentary, build your expertise, right? And I know I was having this conversation with some students. So my core area of practice is intellectual property, right? So I use AI tools to come up with content or materials. If you're not an expert, it's possible there's a high chance that you're going to copy and paste without going through um, the resources or the output that was given to. So first build expertise in the niche area that you want to uh, develop a content around or a research around or an article around. That way, it'll be easier for you to know what is fact and not fact. If you do not have that basic foundation, you're going to have the issue of being someone that cannot be relied on when it comes to um, uh, those conversations or expert discussions. So always verify whatever data, whatever information that it gives you, the AI that it decides to use gives you. Start small, start with one, right? There's no need to put a lot of pressure on yourself when it comes to this. And also stay far away from trying to impress. Because I don't know how many of us are active on X, you find out that the conversation or the trajectory when it comes to legal education has changed. While people are trying to brand themselves and build visibility, there is that lack of understanding as to how law is seen as a business, right? How do you now position yourself or become knowledgeable enough to be able to have this conversation with not just your colleagues, but people who are paying attention to the kind of content that you put out there? Now, I'm going to close with a quote from Richard Susskind in his book titled The Future of the Profession, How Technology Will Transform the Work of Human Experts. So he reads, the end of the professional era is characterized by four trends. One, the move from bespoke service. Two, the bypassing of traditional gatekeepers. Three, a shift from a reactive to a proactive approach to professional work. And finally, the more for less challenge, right? So I mean, with all of this, you now have to tinker back and go back and re-strategize and tell yourself, okay, how am I going to unlearn and relearn how to ethically use or legally use an AI to make me a more um, efficient lawyer, right? A lawyer that is able to deliver and use their visibility to create opportunity, to use technology to deliver top-notch services, to be a lawyer that is, again, not defined by their will, but by the web. So I'll close with that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Rita, for those very amazing tips. As we wrap up on this high impact conversation, Mr. Akban, I'd just like to get your final thoughts, together with your question as well. What is your final message for all the lawyers in our audience today who are still hesitant about embracing technology in legal practice? What do you think is the single most compelling reason why they should stop delaying and start implementing technology in their practice immediately?
Okay, thank you for that, Mohammed. I would say it's just the issue of acceptability, right? Like I had said, it's here to stay. Technology in everything in our everyday life is actually here to stay. So the point now is, to what extent are you willing to not just accept it, but utilize it effectively to do what you need to do, right? So it's acceptability, right? Once you have an open mindset towards learning with and working using AI tools, it becomes much, much, much easy. Funny thing is that prior to when I went full in-house, I used to say, oh, I cannot use this, I cannot use this. But the moment I left a law firm and I joined the first company I worked with, and I was using AI tools like Cloud, Copilot, Perplexity, and Gemini, I just opened my mind to it, right? And since then it has been very effective. Like I said, it has been very, very good, right? But at the end of the day, the bulk of the work will still have to, not the bulk of the work anyways, like the core part of the work, which is you having to review what the AI has given out to you, still lies with you. So it's acceptability for me. It's here. It's here, ranging from Law Pavilion, Case Reader, all of that, all of that. Now you don't even need to have a physical copy of a law report, right? So imagine in the courtroom, your learned friend on the other side of the divide raises a point on law, and you just easily go on Law Pavilion, right? So everything has now been made easy. So it's not, I don't think it's ideal to still intentionally want to stay back in that era of, oh no, I'm a conservative person. You need to open your mind to it. And with that, you will see how your work will actually be made easy for you. So it's the issue of acceptability. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to get your thoughts, also just as a follow-up to what you've just answered. I'd like to get your thoughts about apt response as a platform.
Oh, great. Okay. So yeah, I think we are still pretty much in an era where there are certain clients that will always want to get to see the lawyer they're having a conversation with, right? They want to get to see. So if you're having a client briefing, you have clients want to walk in to your office, sit down with you, have a one-on-one conversation, right? And in most cases, it poses a bit of challenge, because what if this lawyer you're going to see is miles and distance away from where you are, right? And now that's where applications like apt response has actually come in. So like you had said initially, it's basically like an Uber, right? You imagine having a very serious emergency, and You just go on the app, right? You select what you want, and they link you up with a verified lawyer, right? So it's a welcome development. It's going to be a game changer, right? When it has been fully accepted and is used by not just lawyers but by clients as well. It's going to be a game changer because as a lawyer, you can easily be in the comfort of your home and you're providing legal advisory or service to a client. And as a client, you don't need to go through the whole hassle of maybe moving through traffic or traveling from here to there just to meet up with your lawyer in order to have your legal needs sorted out. So it's going to be a game changer in time. And I actually have to commend the initiators behind the idea of it. It's an amazing one. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Akbar. Now, finally, to on the part of Miss Rita. Now, I'd just like to get your number one, your closing thoughts. Number two, what message you have for lawyers on the call who are still hesitant about embracing technology, and finally, what do you think Apt Response as a platform can do differently to engage more legal practitioners?
Mr. Moderator, you're setting me up with that your last question. Let's see. Anyways, anyhow my answer comes, I just take it. But I'll just say for with regards to your first question, so there's a song titled "Fear is a Liar," right? I know that in most professions, the conversation as to imposter syndrome is like a big thing. But when you do not embrace the use of tech tools, you find out that you will be the dinosaur that everyone talks about, majority people talks about, but they've never ever seen, right? So do away with that. You need to be flexible enough to adapt to what is happening within your space. Then I'm going to say you should also niche down, right? I mean, most lawyers are trained with the mindset that when you come out of law school, it's best that you get an experience in a law firm. But now you have other emerging areas and industries that are fast progressing and developing, and the services of lawyers are needed. Are you going to say, oh, because I haven't gotten law firm experience, I won't go in-house or I won't work with this? No. So you also need to have a mindset other than niching down, right? If you're still having difficulty in niching down or building your career, I'm big on informal mentorship and shadowing somebody within the space that you actually admire, right? Like I tell people, I didn't become a lawyer saying, oh, I want to be like Ganifa or Emi. I didn't have any of that. But getting into the profession, there are people that I met from day one up until today that I like their aura and personality and how they've carried themselves in the legal profession, that I said, okay, I want to be like this person or be better than this person or do something similar, right? So that's it. So with regards to technology, like I stated, start small. Start with like the simplest one, which I would say is ChatGPT, right? Find out what ChatGPT can do for you as a lawyer. If you now want to include it into your day-to-day legal activities, ensure that there should be a do's and don'ts on what you can do with the app or the tool in question. If you're also going to be engaging with clients, are you willing to be that transparent to the point that you tell your clients that I'm actually using AI to help me? Or do you just get the software, put it on your system, put it in your server or whatever, and then keep doing what you're doing without informing the client? How transparent are you willing to become? Also, engage with the bar. Don't sit on the fence. Join committees. We have 3 active committees thanks to COVID, right? SLP, SBL, SPDL. I think Speedo just concluded their conference for the year. But try and be active at the bar. If you have an interest in law, join a committee that aligns with your interests, right? What else? Collaborate, network. I have a networking hack that I figured out when something happened to me, right? So prior to COVID, I think that was 2019, we were at Akure for the SLP conference. And during one of the, not during, it was, I think the night before we left, we had like a party somewhere in the club. And there was this Leonard Silk that I had met and I'd been following his work in the arbitration space. And I told my friend about it. And I was like, okay, this is your opportunity to work up to this person, right? And I did that, and I introduced myself and told him where I work. So what caught him about my introduction was the fact that I was working with a virtual law firm. So working with a virtual law firm, I was flexible enough. I had an open mind. I wasn't big on, oh, if I'm going to be in a law firm, it has to be like a brick and mortar law firm. I think I was also intrigued by the fact that we had a virtual law firm and I didn't have to leave my location to work in the law firm. So have an open mind, be flexible, also be proactive, take the initiative to do stuff, be committed, make a difference either in your office, in the legal practice, within your environment. I mean, read as far and wide as you can, because again, no knowledge is a waste. If you're going to be attending AI related conversation as it applies to legal practice, ensure that you are being strategic about the kind of webinars or events you are attending, right? 2026 is like a few days away from today. What are your plans against the next year? Have a timeline. So in my career, I have accountability partners that have now become friends that I work with or collaborate with, right? We check up on each other once in a while. We understand that we're all busy, right? To give each other a thumbs up, likes, and stuff like that. So have an accountability partner that you can always fall back on. Also, have people that you can exchange ideas with. I used to have a mini community online, and I had the opportunity of meeting people from other jurisdictions. Be also intentional when it comes to branding yourself. I mean, AI is the in thing now, but do you want to specialize in AI? If yes, are you just focusing on AI ethics or AI governance? What is it about AI that you actually want to focus on rather than the adoption as it applies to your practice? Are you looking at the risk aspect? What is it exactly, or the policy? What is it exactly you want to do? For apt, we are lawyers. I don't want to say something and then someone picks an offense, but I'll just say kudos to you guys. I mean, as my closing remark, if there is a similar app out there doing something similar to what you're doing, ensure that the edge you have over the other person is something that can attract people. Your business model, I'm sure you guys already have that figured out, but um, kudos to you guys for even collaborating with YLF to organize this event to create more awareness in terms of adoption and use of emerging tools like AI. Cheers.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Rita, for that very powerful closing. Ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up today's conversation, I'm sure one thing is very clear. The future of legal practice in Nigeria is already here. It is here to stay, and it is being shaped by technology. From the conversation, we have seen how technology is expanding client access. It is transforming service delivery, and it is redefining what it means to be a modern lawyer. The message is simple. Technology is no longer optional for all lawyers. It is essential. And while AI is a powerful tool, I'm sure we now understand that it can never replace human judgment, ethical responsibility, and professional guidance. In the nearest future, I'm sure there will be a visible difference between lawyers who have embraced technology and those who have made efforts to resist it. I would like to commend us at the Nigerian Bar Association Young Lawyers Forum for our continued role in driving innovation, capacity building, and future-focused conversations like this, particularly targeted at young lawyers, and also recognizing platforms like Apt Response that are practically demonstrating how technology can expand access to justice for everyday Nigerians. I'd like to sincerely thank and appreciate our outstanding panelists. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. Rita and Wiri Chinda of IP Series and Mr. Dominic Akbanyene of Mono Technologies. I'd like to appreciate you sincerely for your insights and practical perspectives. And to everyone who has joined us today, the future of our profession will be shaped by the choices we make now to learn, to adapt, and to innovate. For those of us that have not downloaded the app yet, I will advise you to go on Apple Play Store and of course, your Google Play Store to download the app and reap the benefits of the app. So thank you all for your time and for engaging us. For want of time, we will be answering just 3 questions. If we have any questions, please use the chat box. We're going to be answering just 3 questions, and it's going to be on a first come, first serve basis. So if you have a question, please drop it on the chat box. Let's quickly do that, please, in the next 2 minutes so that we can proceed. If you have any questions, please drop it on the comment section on the chat box so that we can make progress. In the absence of any questions, I'd like to invite a representative from Apt Response to take over from me and conclude the session. Thank you very much.
Hi, Mohammed. Thank you very much. So we have someone has their hands raised here. Annabelle. I think she has a question. Annabelle Edo. Do you have a question? Hand is raised. Hello, Annabelle. Okay, someone is also asking how does lawyers position to get clients online? How does lawyer position to get clients online? Someone else is asking, can we have the recorded message? Yes, this meeting is being recorded and we're going to send the link to the recorded session via email when we upload it on our YouTube channel, because we can't attach it to an email body. So we're going to upload it to our YouTube channel and share the link to that video with you guys via email. Can anybody attempt the questions? How does lawyer position to get clients online?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question and be more practical, right? So first step is, if you are attached to a law firm, you need to first understand the principle of the law firm. Does the law firm allow you to take initiative to brand yourself, or does your branding have to be in line with the firm's brand? If it's with the firm's branding, then there is little or nothing you can do, because most of the publications or content as a thought leader or positioning yourself or trying to be visible is going to be tailored along the guidelines or what the law firm wants to do, right? But if you're also in a firm that encourages it, because when I started working at Vision Lawyers, I recall my first post on IP discussing industrial design, I didn't tell anybody in the law firm. When they found, I don't know, I think one of my colleagues had shared the link on Slack. So everyone was like, hi, everyone, Rita made a post on X, now Twitter, now X. And the partner then was like, why didn't I inform the friend? Like, nothing, right? And they were like, oh, I think you can start something, do that, right? So I individually tried to brand myself outside the law firm, right? So that if you think of me, you should be able to link me to something instead of linking me to just the firm. So that is one. Writing short articles or mini blog series. I went from mini blog series to starting a podcast to having a newsletter to facilitating sessions. Oh, sorry. Can you guys actually hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, to facilitating session, also collaborating with different people from tech hubs to events, and also so if you're based, so I'm based in Port Harcourt, right? And I do my best to be engaging in terms of interacting with the creative sector here, right? And if there are agencies or commissions that lack a legal representation, you can go and align yourself with them, and that way they bring you in into whatever conversations they're having, and that way you're able to build credibility, also make impact, and also opportunities might come out for you. And also starting with one platform in terms of building yourself or positioning yourself. I started on X and moved to Instagram, moved to LinkedIn before I moved to Substack and Spotify and the rest of it, and the rest is history. So you also need to be intentional when it comes to all of these things. Again, remember I said fear is a liar, right? Sometimes you find out that in the course of building um trying to build visibility, there is always that conversation as to, are you doing too much? Do I need to do what everybody's doing? So I call TikTok as a dancing platform. Do I need to dance to share knowledge? No, right? So instead of just relying on the traditional model of getting clients whereby someone has to refer you, so your father refers you, your mom refers you, your star refers you to someone, you now need to think of the internet as a bigger platform for you to tell your story, to position yourself as a go-to person. While doing that, you need to also document your journey in terms of niching. I'm big on niching, that's specializing. I'm big on it because I specialized before I went to law school. So I already knew what I wanted to do. You can also take advantage or mentorship or volunteering. That's another way to position yourself. So I volunteered in the early part of my career to be legal for a music association within my space. But I had to draw a thin line as to how much free legal services can I do for them. When it comes to documentation, that wasn't free, right? But when it came to creating awareness, education, yeah, I can do that. But the other part, because you remember, you have to think of law as a business. You have to think like a business person. And also, when you're given the opportunity to be in rooms, ensure that you stand out. So I'm big on not so someone had mentioned to me one time when I attended an event and he said, do not look or dress like a lawyer. So when you attend non-law events, ensure that you are very strategic as to the panels or sessions you want to attend. If you're going to be asking questions, ensure that the questions you ask are very interesting or intellectually stimulating questions that will draw attention on you to, like, okay, who is this person? Why is she not on this panel? And stuff like that. And then the way you dress, white and black, I tire for them. But if you're going for those kind of events, from your head to your toe, you need to look sharp, right? White, maybe you can coordinate your white and black to look very fancy, but some people already have this mindset that anybody on white and black is a lawyer. So you have to ensure that your branding also takes people can see your branding even in your dressing, right? And that's because you're also trying to position yourself in a way that you are approachable, right? So if you're giving a speaking engagement, and also ensure that you drop lines or bars, this may being a layman, and drop lines or bars that actually make people want to talk to you as. And prior to COVID, there were a lot of exchange of call cards as the complimentary card. But now people are quick to create online profiles. So it's just share a QR code with you, or you can check me up on LinkedIn, or you can check me up on this, right? What else? I think that answers the part about getting clients online. But you have to show that you are someone that can be trusted. You are seen as a thought leader. You are consistently out there. Like if they are mentioning top 10 or top 20 or top 50 people within this area of law, your name should at least come up once. You also find out that people are watching what you do online, right? So I'm going to close on that to position yourself, create content through writing, volunteer, collaborate, um, start with a small platform, engage meaningfully, be respectful as well. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know if there's any other one I didn't answer, but yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Hello.
Hi, Rita.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we have another question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. What's the next question?
There's another question. Someone says, please, we need to know more on how to navigate the AI as legal practitioners.
Navigate in terms of adoption or navigate as an area of practice? I think that question is saying.
I I have no idea. That's
So
that's the question.
if it's in adoption, like I had stated, read first of all, read that SLP guideline. That's what I'll start with. Secondly, ensure that you cross-check whatever output you get from any platform you're using, right? So I use Gemini, I use Copilot, I use ChatGPT. The other one is for like more intense research, not for like minor research. So I had an experience last week. I was trying to like summarize something, right? And 5 treaties were mentioned. So what did I do? I had to start reading those treaties. I read the first one, and out of the 5, only one was correct that made or alluded or covered what I was trying to do. So which now brings the conversation about specializing. So if you're not a specialist, and even if you're not a specialist, whatever information that is churned out for you from an AI platform, ensure that you cross-check it and verify it, right? Don't be carried away by the likes and algorithms or impressions you get online. Ensure that whatever knowledge or information you're putting out there using AI is the truth and nothing but the truth, right? If you're going to be adopting it in terms of using it to summarize clients' work, how much access are you willing to, because I'm sure we all have Gmail accounts, and sometimes when you open your Gmail account and maybe there's like a thread or correspondence, you see those short summary. Now, are you willing to give AI tools like that access to be able to go through your emails and give you like a suggested response, right? If you do not want that, go to the settings of those AI tools and opt out of any form of unauthorized training. But if you're talking about building expertise in AI, I'm going to say find out short courses, and I think someone had asked me this question at some point. Find out short courses available on building AI expertise, whether it's on the risk and compliance aspect, the liability aspect, policy aspect. There's this lady on X. Let me see if I can get her name. She's post a lot of AI related content. So anything about artificial intelligence, trends, updates, conversations. She's like the go-to person that you can follow when it comes to um learning anything as it applies to AI. And that's because she didn't niche herself when it comes to the jurisdictional aspect. She made it like a diverse so her name is Louisa Jarowski. So LuizaJaRovsky. So yeah, that's on someone that I can recommend. And then there are a few other persons that are using AI to do a lot of things like creating using it to train their large language model. I think Dr. Chijoke from South Africa and her team have a platform. I don't know if I can get it now, but she's on LinkedIn. Just check out. Let me see if I can get. I think it's Dr. Chijoke Okori. That should be her full name on on LinkedIn. Then there are a couple of other Africans. Tech Hive Advisory rather is the one the co-founders of the firm are my friends, and they've been doing a lot of AI governance conversation. I think they have an event coming up next week, right? So you can check out all of those things and see where you can position yourself. But you can go the traditional tech route where you take the CS50 Harvard course and any other short course online. You can also look at the interplay of AI and other areas of law that you want to build your capacity on. Data protection and privacy is a trending conversation. Then there are AI issues from that. Cybersecurity is another part, as another one. There's the health aspect. There's the tech compliance aspect. There's the intellectual property aspect. There's the arbitration aspect, where arbitral institutions are asking how far can you use AI in your arbitral proceedings. So if I was able to answer that particular question, but if I did not, you can send me a DM for clarity. But yeah, I think that's about it from me.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Rita. Insightful answer. So there's another question here. Please, what does it take to get into blockchain and cryptocurrency law practice?
Ooh, okay. So there used to be this guy I know, but I don't know where he is right now. His name was Boulevard. I think he was like the first, not I think, he was the first lawyer that started having conversations about blockchain and stuff like that. We have this platform that used to be very active called Law Ethics and something. I think it was called Bleep, that's for short. Then there is Faith Obafemi, who I call blockchain goddess. So there are a couple of lawyers you can follow when it comes to niching down and how to get into blockchain and cryptocurrency law practice. I would say read, engage. So look at publications and journals that have an interplay with law and other industry, right? Because blockchain is an area that has been touted to make practice a bit more efficient. It also depends on um, the jurisdiction other than Nigeria, there are other jurisdictions that you think are out there that are doing a lot better. So I'm not going to speak much on this because this is not my area, but look at compliance requirements from the Nigerian perspective. What are the gaps in knowledge? Who are the lawyers having this conversation? Look at law blogs and journals that you can subscribe to that discuss everything blockchain. But Faith Obafemi is someone I will refer you to follow because she has a lot of content and material as it applies to blockchain. For cryptocurrency, because of digital assets, look at the CBN regulation as well, look at the SEC regulation as well, look at the disclosure requirement when it comes to the advert and marketing of cryptocurrencies. What else? Career opportunities. Is it possible for you to look for openings or freelance roles from platforms like Upwork or Fiverr and stuff like that? And also Infusion Lawyers I think they have something on blockchain and cryptocurrency, and I'm aware that they are currently doing a lot of um, discussion as to adoption of digital um, assets or digital currency, something like that. So Fusion Lawyers does a lot of research on that. Faith Obafemi, if you're looking at it from the IP aspect, WIPO has a couple of publications on use of blockchain to trace or document ownership of tangible assets. So I do hope I was able to answer that particular question.
Okay, thank you so much, Rita. So we've answered the 3 questions already, and I think we are done.
So thank you guys so much for those who participated, for those that joined us. Thanks to the speakers, Rita, Akban, and Mohammed. Thank you so much for all the great questions and answers and for your insightful contributions. Yeah, I think we are done. We're already running out of time here. Does anyone have any other thing to say? All right. I'll see you
Yeah, I
guys.
think we're done.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me. It was indeed a pleasure sharing some insight here. Thank you.
Can we log off? Is the session over?
Yes, the session is over.
All right, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah.